Today, we're going to be doing an affordable watch brand tier list. If you've ever wondered my personal thoughts and opinions on certain watch brands, then this is the video for you. Today, we're going to be ranking 20 different affordable watch brands, from watch brands that you should completely avoid to watch brands that you should absolutely buy. And if you want to see me do an affordable watch brand tier list using only micro brands, then get this video to 500 likes and I'll make it. So we have 5 different tiers in this video. The bottom tier is watches that you should completely avoid. The next tier up is called snooze. And what I mean by snooze is that these are watch brands that are generally just a little bit boring, but maybe they have 1 or 2 good watches. The next category is would buy. This is a tier for brands that generally have a lot of good watches amongst their catalogue. The next category is pure class. This category is for brands that generally just have amazing watches. And of course, the best tier is top tier tickers. This is a tier exclusively reserved for the best of the best. So starting off, we have Tissot. You'd think these days that the only watch that Tissot makes is the PRX with how much it's hyped online. But Tissot is actually one of the oldest watchmakers coming from Switzerland. And considering how good their history is, I'm surprised that their watches are so affordable. And I think that generally Tissot watches are very, very good. I've owned quite a few different Tissots now and I've not had a problem with any of them. So this one's an easy one for me. Tissot goes into, I think, pure class. Let's put it in pure class. Next up, we have Invicta. This one's going to be controversial. Now, to some of you watching, you might know that I'm not a big fan of homage watches, but for new enthusiasts, I think that Invicta holds a special place because I think it's a great way for an enthusiast to try out an automatic watch. Because you can buy an Invicta on Amazon, they are so easy to buy. But of course, generally, Invicta have quite a bad reputation regarding those huge, monstrous watches that they make. So realistically, I can't put them very high on this list, but I definitely don't think they should go in the avoid category. Probably just the snooze. Next up, we have Timex. Now, I think Timex do make a couple of good watches. However, I think that the majority of the Timex catalogue is slightly overpriced. And by slightly, I actually mean quite a lot. And I've had quite a few Timex watches now, and I've never really been impressed with the quality of them. I think, again, they do a good job at bringing in new enthusiasts like Invicta does, and they are very accessible. I definitely wouldn't put them in snooze or avoid, so I think Timex is a would buy. Next up, we have Marathon. As far as I'm aware, Marathon still makes watches for the US military. Now, Marathon has a wide range of watches from like a couple $100s to like $2,000. I don't know who's spending $2,000 on a Marathon because I certainly wouldn't. But I think their affordable pieces, and I'm talking the $200 to $400 range, offer some really good value because of those tritium tubes. Tritium tubes are not easy to get on an affordable watch, so I have to give props to Marathon for doing it at such a low price. So for me, Marathon, the affordable pieces, I'm talking under $500, are a would buy. Anything over that, I'd probably put in avoid or snooze. Sorry. Next up, we have Swatch. Now, you guys probably already know how I feel about the Moon Swatch. So if that was the watch we're talking about, it'd probably be in snooze or avoid. However, the just regular Swatch models, like the ones that cost $70, I actually really like them. I think that they're a lot of fun. Yes, they're not the best value for money, but who cares? I think in a collection, there's always a place to just have something that's a bit fun. And I think way too many people focus on specifications and lose the fun aspect of collecting. So for me, Swatch generally is a would buy. Now, Orient. This is one of my favourite watchmakers. I think that it's pretty hard to find a bad Orient watch. I have tried many of them now, I have seen many of them, I have handled many of them, and I have never been disappointed. For me, Orient has to go into top tier tickers. Next up, we have Alpina. Now, I'll be honest, this isn't a brand that I know too much about. I've handled a few of their watches before, and they were okay. I just think that Alpina is one of those brands that struggles with its designs punching through to like a mainstream market, or at the very least appealing to enthusiasts. I certainly don't think that they make bad watches. I've never really seen one that's terrible. I just think that there is a lot better for your money out there. So for me, Alpino probably goes in snooze. Sorry. Next up, we have Spinnaker. Now, some of you watching may consider Spinnaker as a micro brand. I do think, though, that they do insane sales, so I don't quite think they can be called a micro brand anymore. In terms of competing with the brands on here, I think they do very well. They're in that Goldilocks zone where they have a really strong brand name, but they're offering value for money as if they are a micro brand. Now, this one is a tough one. I'd probably put them in between pure class and would buy. I tell you what, I'm going to put them in pure class, but they're probably going to be at the bottom. Next up, we have G-Shock. Again, I've tried quite a few G-Shocks now, and I finally found my perfect G-Shock. I think as a smaller wristed enthusiast, they are just generally very big for me, so naturally they don't appeal to me as much as they do other people, but I absolutely respect what G-Shock does and how good they are. So for me, they're definitely in the pure class category. Bulliver's a pretty decent brand, and they have some incredible watches, by the way. But for me, there is a big gap between their really good watches and their other watches. I'm talking Luna Pilot, great. I'm talking the Devil Diver, fantastic. I think that their Precisionist watches are really good too. But Bulliver do sell a lot of shopping mall watches, you know, just trash. So for that, I don't think I can put them high on the list. Although I definitely would buy a Bulliver, definitely. But for me, they don't have enough hits in their catalogue to go any higher. So Bulliver is would buy. Next up, Accurist. Now I don't know too much about Accurist. I know that they're generally an English-based brand, although I'm sure that their watches are made in Asia somewhere. But I know that they have quite a deep history in England, but to be honest with you, that was before my time. There are a few Accurist designs that appeal to me and I think are quite nice, and I think they offer watches at a pretty fair price. So for me, Accurist would go in the would buy category, but towards the bottom. Next up, we have Fossil. And well, yeah, avoid, sorry. Hamilton, right, Hamilton. I like Hamilton. Hamilton makes some good watches. I've owned a Hamilton in the past and I've tried quite a lot of them on before, and I think they are very, very, very good. I do think they're a little bit one-dimensional with all this sort of military field watch thing going on, but then I would say that they kind of own that category of watches too around this price point. So it's this one's difficult, but Hamilton I'd probably put above Spinnaker in pure class. Now I've only put Movement in here, but you can pretty much put any fashion watch brand on this spot as well. Listen, I like the fact that they're getting people to wear watches that usually wouldn't, but realistically for an enthusiast, they're just pieces of junk and yeah, avoid them. Now I've put Armani on here because Armani is one of the brands that I personally owned before I started watch collecting, and I actually owned quite a few different Armani watches. And Armani is one of those brands that appeals to a regular consumer because you get a massive brand name on the dial and the watches do look really expensive, even though we all know that most G-Shocks cost more than an Armani watch. Again, I would avoid them, but I'd probably put them above Fossil and Movement. Next up we have Victorinox. This isn't a brand that I've had too much experience with, but I do really like the designs. I got hands-on with a few of the models when I went to a London watch event a few weeks ago, and I was really impressed by the quality. I think the price is okay, I don't think it's insane or anything, but I think if you're looking for like a masculine tough watch, then Victorinox is where you should go. So I would put Victorinox in the would buy category. Seconda. Seconda's a weird one because they sell a lot of watches here in the UK. If you go into pretty much any shopping mall, you will see Seconda for sale, and the prices of them are very cheap. But generally speaking, I don't think that the watches that they make are very good. I definitely think you can do a lot worse though. So I'd probably put them at the bottom of the snooze category. They're better than those three brands that are in the avoid category, but only just. Now I've left three big Japanese brands for last. Now Citizen is a brand that has massively grown on me over this last year. About a year ago, I actually thought they was pretty boring, but they have been releasing some absolute bangers. The dive watches they've been making of late have been amazing, and the Soyosa is one of my favourite watches of the year. Citizen is definitely going to go in pure class, and I'm even going to put them above Hamilton. Casio, everybody loves a Casio. Come on. I do like Casio. I think they have to go in top tier tickers, don't they? They just offer insane value for money. Anybody has access to a Casio, no matter where you are from in the world, no matter how much money you earn, you can buy a Casio and enjoy one. And they offer so many different styles in so many different sizes. Casio probably are the kings when it comes to bang for buck, let's be honest. And finally, we have Seiko. Now, I'm a huge fan of Seiko, okay? I like a lot of their watches. And I know that Seiko used to offer better value 5 years ago. And I know that the new Seiko 5 range doesn't have a lot of fans. But I really like them. I still think they're good value for money. Yes, microbrands do offer a lot more than Seiko do, but Seiko's a big brand. They have such a rich history. And if you're a bit like me and you appreciate a watchmaker that has history, then Seiko is one of the best, especially for the price. That being said though, Seiko is not going in top tier tickers. It will go into pure class, and I'd probably put it above Tissot. What would you change? Let me know down in the comments.